Hello, viewers. On today's episode, we will be talking about the common mistakes F1 and F2 visa applicants usually make at the embassy during their interview. Number one is short answers. It is not advisable to always give short answers. For instance, when you're asked a question like, have you been to the US before? Your answer should not just be no. You have to tell the visa officer why you have not been to the US before, like saying, no, officer, I have not been to the US before, but I have been to 20 states within the country for work-related functions or visitations. Another common mistakes F1 and F2 visa officers usually make at the embassy during the interview is giving inconsistent answers. For instance, your DS-160 is 70% your interview. Remember, while the interview is going on, your DS-160 is being looked into on the system by the visa officers. They are seeing what you filled out there. So whatever answer you're going to give them must be consistent with the answers you're giving them during the interview live. So, for instance, if you filled out there on your DS-160 that you earn an annual income or a monthly income of 150,000 naira or 250,000 naira, you have to tell them I earn a monthly income of 250,000 naira or 150,000 naira if you're asked. You cannot go there and begin to tell them a different thing which is different from what you had actually written on your DS-160. That is a very big mistake, and of course it is a red flag. It doesn't fly that way. Another mistake that can actually result in visa refusal. Another common mistakes F1 and F2 visa applicants usually make is lack of adequate preparations. It is said that he that fails to prepare is preparing to fail. So you cannot have your interview in about a week or two and then you start preparations now. You have to start preparing ahead of time. Say 2 months, 3 months, or even 4 months ahead so that you can have the much needed confidence with which you will talk to the visa officers and the adequate information you would need to deliver at the embassy for your interview. Another mistake that F1 and F2 visa applicants usually make, particularly the F1 visa applicants, is their inability to explain properly their study plans. Remember, your ability to explain your study plan proves to the visa officer that yes, this applicant is actually going to study, is going to use this F1 visa for studies, not for any other purpose. So, as an F1 visa applicant, you should be able to explain to the visa officer in details and properly why you are going to the US, particularly your study plan. Break it down by saying, if you're going for masters, my program is a 2-year program. Within the period, I will be expected to take a total of 26. That is, if your total credit unit is 36 rather, 36 credit hours courses, which are split into 4 semesters. Then you mention the names of the courses that you'll be taking in your 4th semester. Okay, and then the CGPA that you have to have or maintain, for instance, 3.0, 3.5, or 4.0. And then if you have to go for an IT industrial training, you have to also mention it. That will prove to the visa officer that you know your study plan, that you're actually going to the United States for studies and not for any other purpose. Another mistake some F1 and F2 visa officers usually make at the embassy during the interview is giving out falsified information. For instance, you don't have to appear at the embassy for your interview with any doctored document or forged document. For instance, bank statement. You have to go there with a genuine and verifiable bank statement. because that can actually lead to visa ban. It can also lead to denial, that is refusal. So ensure that you always go to the embassy for your visa with accurate information and documents to avoid being refused. Another common mistakes that F1 and F2 visa officers, another common mistake that F1 and F2 visa applicants usually make is their inability to explain in clear terms their post-study plan. For instance, when you're asked, what is your post-study plan? They are trying to determine whether or not you have the intention of returning to your country home or to your home country after your studies. You have to make them understand that yes, you're coming back by explaining to them in details your post-study plan. For instance, upon the successful completion of my studies, I will be returning to my home country, Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Gambia, or Cote d'Ivoire, to take up a managerial role, to manage my parents' businesses, to settle or to walk down the aisle with the love of my life, or to take my business to the next level, or to add value to the society. You have to explain in clear terms your post-study plan. And your post-study plan also has a link with your hometowns. If you are not able to explain your post-study plan, it may lead to visa refusal. So you have to, as a matter of fact, be able to explain your post-study plan in details. Very important. Another common mistakes that F1 and F2 visa applicants usually make is not going to the embassy with sufficient supporting documents. For instance, if you have a study leave from your company or your organization, you have to go there with the study leave, just in case you're being asked by the visa officer, so they can verify and then get convinced about what you're telling them. You would have to present it to them because at some point they could ask you this question: can I see or can I look at your study leave? And then you would say, sure, officer, you can have it. So, not going to the embassy with sufficient, enough supporting documents can also lead to visa refusal. It is very important as a visa applicant to go to the embassy with your supporting documents so that you will get the visa officer convinced. Another common mistake that a lot of F1 and F2 visa applicants usually make is lack of confidence. You have to have a lot of confidence. Without confidence, you will be nervous, you will stutter, you'll be jittery, and you will not be able to express yourself. You will not be able to convince the visa officer. And of course, in the face of not being able to convince the visa officer because of lack of confidence, the visa officer will refuse your visa, even when you have genuine case, even when what you're saying is true. Because you're not able to express yourself, you're not able to convince the visa officer will have no other option than to refuse you the visa. Confidence is key, is number one. Thank you, my lovely viewers. Please ensure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more F1 and F2 visa interview tips.